Hey, folks, Damon at Black Warrior Lures. Time to change the old oil here in the SPS Longtail. And I guess first we'll look at what we've been running in it. Like I say, I just built this motor, and in order to break in the motor, the manual states you want to run the motor for 3 hours with a light load, not a heavy load, a light load. And I just ran it for 3 hours without any load on it whatsoever before I even mounted anything up. And what I used to break in the motor is just cheap Wally World brand 10W30 motor oil. That's all I used. And I actually did put some Lucas heavy oil stabilizer in it a little bit. And I've just run that for the past several weeks just to break in the motor. Now, why do you need to break in a motor? Because most motors are not machined. They're machined to where they can basically work, but there's all kinds of, those gears need to mesh, and while they could machine it to where they perfectly mesh straight from the factory, unless you want to pay $10,000 for an engine, it just doesn't make sense to machine it that well, just, you know, sitting there straight from the plant. So what they do is they'll get to a point, they'll assemble all the components, and then the actual mechanical working of the engine will machine the rest of the components. That's why when you put oil in motors like this, and after you reach the break-in period, you'll drain out the oil, you'll see little metal shavings and stuff like that in it. The reason there's in there like that is simply because the motor has finished machining it, and you need to drain that oil out and put the oil that you're going to use to protect and run with in. So my recommendation, if you're just trying to break it in, just use the cheapest 10W30 motor oil you can find. Just the Wally World brand, and be done with it. Conventional motor oil. I wouldn't even fool with Lucas, really. I had it on hand, so I put it in there anyway. Now, but what am I going to run with? You know, what am I going to, I'm getting out there and going to run with. I'm using these two things here. First of all, I'm using Royal Purple. I'm going to use Royal Purple 10W30. This is the marine oil here. There's a couple of different, you know, you got the API oil for cars, you got the high performance street that's used for hot rods and stuff, and this is used for the marine. I think you can just use either of them. It doesn't really matter, I don't think. I didn't really want to use the API stuff because the API stuff, you know, the American Petroleum Institute has all these stipulations and stuff, and quite frankly, from what I've seen, the Royal Purple's, their own proprietary stuff, is just better. So I just went with apparently what the difference between this and this, all oils are essentially the same base. They have the same base. About, you know, 75% of it is the same stuff. The conventional, even this synthetic. Synthetic, they do something to the molecules to make them more uniform, and so they lubricate better. The real difference is in the additives and the detergent packages and things like that. The additives and detergents in these things are far better. I mean, if you can just click on YouTube and type in oil torture tests and things like that, and you'll see them use that one. You got an electric motor and a thing that grinds the bearings to the point to where the oil will actually fail. And you'll see the scratches on the bearings and stuff. And the only things that I've seen that really stand up are the Royal Purple and the engine BestLine. I mean, I've seen guys put this stuff in bulldozers and drain out the oil, and it runs, you know, things like that. I'm not recommending you do anything like that, but, you know, my point is these things use like an ionic process or something that has there's an ionic charge here that helps this stuff bond to the actual metal in it. This is sort of the old hat standard here, but I think we've got something better here. So, but anyway, let's get on with the oil change. First thing. All right, it's really cold out here this morning, so we're just gonna crank it up, let them run 4 or 5 minutes, get good and warm. I've got the choke still on. There's a choke off now, just now idling, so this is the cool thing about this system. You want to change the oil, just come here, We're going to set here like so. And now have our oil pan here. And guess what? All we got to do is take out that one boat and the oil will just drain out right down here into this little oil pan. It's just that simple. This might get a little messy here. 10 millimeters, all it needs. A lot of 10 millimeter bolts on this little motor. So it's just like your car, you know, you know the oil plug on your car. And see, there's another one of these on the other side, so you can do it from the other side as well. This thing I love about this motor is that, there we go. And so look, it's clean. Nothing's hitting the motor. It's just clean, all right? Need to have my gloves on because that stuff's caustic and not good for you. So we're just gonna drain off the oil like that. And a little bit starting to get into the, starting to drip there now, but you can just lift up the motor like that and just, so all that oil is just at that angle, it's coming down perfectly. So the oil still looks plenty good. So we're just gonna let that drain, and we'll come back when it's done. Get you an old sock or rag or something, kind of clean it up a little. For the most part, it's pretty clean operation. And if it's real cold out, just let that motor warm up 4 or 5 minutes and it'll drain on off well. All right. Oh, come on now, don't give me that. It's not gonna, ratchet would be better, but it'll get back in there. Just take some finger work. There we go. And just do that by hand until we get it back in. Once we do that, we will start the oil. Now, while I'm doing that, let's talk about the thing. So what do you do? How much of what? This motor only, particular design only holds a pint of oil, like 16 ounces. So we have here some 2-ounce cups that we can measure. Now the BestLine engine treatment says 10 to 15% by volume. Initial oil change will appear to have extra. Okay, so 10 to 15%. So if 16 ounces is our thing, then 10 to 15% would be like 1.6 to like 2 ounces or something. 2 ounces would be like 12.5%. So we're going to just, again, we're going to put 2 ounces here. 2 ounces is 12.5%. And the engine treatment here says use 10 to 15% in the engine. So we're going to go with a 12.5%, kind of split the difference there. It just sort of works out that way. 2-ounce cup. We're going to put that in. That's all we're going to put in there. I mean, it's all of this. Now you got to fill it, and we're going to fill the rest of it. Now we could fill the rest of it with our El Cheapo oil, but we're not. We're going to use some decent oil here because I want as dependable and reliable a motor as possible out there on the river. It's just not worth it to risk anything. So now we're going to get our Royal Purple. First time I've ever used Royal Purple. So that's 2 ounces. This stuff is actually purple. 2 ounces. It's 4 ounces. And we'll do that until we get 16 ounces. So 2, 4, 8. Come on, that makes 6. Eight, 10, 8. I'll just do this until we get the rest of it in. Okay, that's 16 ounces there, based on using this little 2-ounce cup here. Alright, now if we know you got it right, it should be yeah, 16. So we put 2 ounces in there already. So what we're going to do is push her back level and see if that gets us a good feel of it. All right. You're trying to make the place better, but you know, so that. Well, it's just that you can't do it. Oh, first of all, you know. All right. I'm always talking to myself. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm not losing it. Oh yeah, it's full, baby. We got it going now. Alright, so we're going to have to clean this up here, get us some denatured alcohol, clean this all up. Alright, so the good thing is that it's not leaking. So just to be sure, check the check here and make sure it's not leaking. If it's not leaking, then you're good to go. Make sure this is all tight. Okay. Choke, fuel on. Kill switch armed. On. Top dead. Alright, we're going to fire her up. Now, since we just changed the oil, just going to just do this for a few times. Just pull it, let some of that oil mix up, and then we're going to fire it. Alright, here we go. All right. That's 10W30 Royal Purple synthetic motor oil with BestLine engine additive. 2 ounces, 14 ounces. Yeah. You can put this in all your lawnmowers and stuff. You can even put it in your car. But now we got some serious lubrication. All right, let's give it a run. Want to hear it? She's still cold. Yeah, just seems to be revving a little bit smoother, but you know, need to get old denatured alcohol, clean all that up. But there you have it, oil change. First oil change. Now the book says do your first oil change after the first 20 hours. I didn't wait that long. I got the 3-hour break-in, probably have another 3 hours of just actual run time out there on the lake or whatever on the river. And I said, forget it, man, I'm just going to change it. So, and so now we have a good lubrication in here. Now, if you look, you know, I've been working on this motor, hopping it up, probably going to do some more interior mods later on. If you want to, I'm trying to put together a hop-up guide, you know, a way to hop up these Predator engines specifically for mud motors. And one of the things I see a lot of guys doing is doing crazy stuff like going in here and taking out the governor, you know, and the truth be told is this is not a high RPM application, yet they're using high RPM hop-ups and they're not really doing them any good. It's just a waste of time, and you're really sacrificing your safety out there. You know, if you want a safe way to hop up your motor, get more horsepower out of it, check out my newsletter that I'm going to be putting out. If you see the link down there, just check that out. Check out that page on the website for healthy tips and tricks to get a lot more power out of these engines. First starting with some bolt-ons and then actually getting into the motor eventually to where we can get in here and really do some serious modifications on the inside without sacrificing your safety systems like your oil kill switch here with your oil and your governor here that's back under there. So if you want that, check that out, get that free download. And I will talk to you guys later.